I always thought my life would be simple, predictable, and safe. As a photographer, I was used to observing the world from a distance, protected behind my lens. Nothing I had seen, captured, or lived prepared me for what was coming. The trip seemed harmless enough. My girlfriend Helena invited me to spend the weekend at her family's country house. They're very welcoming, she assured me. You'll love it. And I believed her. The road felt endless, swallowed by dense, twisted forests. The trees were so tall they seemed to whisper whenever the wind swept through. The sky hung low and gray, charged with a strange weight. A subtle sense of dread grew in me long before we arrived. Something in that picturesque scenery felt wrong. Too perfect to trust. Helena's family home appeared in the middle of a vast, open field. Old, white walls, dark windows. A house that looked like it held its breath. The moment I stepped out of the car, I noticed the silence. Not the peaceful quiet of the countryside. This one was heavy, almost watchful, as if the house itself were aware of our presence. Her mother greeted us with a smile that shined too brightly, her sweetness almost artificial. Her father soon followed, polite and elegant, but his eyes stayed on me too long, too fixed, as if examining me. The employees around the property, mostly black men and women, moved with strange stillness, their faces oddly empty. A shiver crept through me, though I tried to hide it. Night fell abruptly. After dinner, we joined Helena's parents in the living room. Her mother served tea and casually brought up hypnotherapy. She spoke softly, yet her eyes felt like they were peeling back layers of my mind. Something deep inside me whispered to get up, to leave, to run. Before bed, Helena guided me outside to show me the property. The lake behind the house reflected the moon in broken shards of light. The air felt colder there, and then I saw someone standing across the field, motionless, staring directly at us. An employee, I thought, but he didn't move, didn't blink, didn't breathe. By the time we returned to the bedroom, an unexplainable tension coiled around me. The house felt alive, absorbing every sound, every breath. As I closed my eyes, a voice in the darkness echoed inside me. This is only the beginning. I woke up in the middle of the night with a suffocating feeling. The room was completely dark, except for the moonlight filtered through the curtains. I didn't remember turning off the light, but I assumed Helena had done it. The silence was so absolute that it seemed to fill my ears, as if nothing else existed beyond that isolated house in the middle of nowhere. Then I heard footsteps in the hallway, dragging footsteps, slow, as if someone was walking without hurry, but with a defined purpose. I thought it might be a night employee taking care of the house, but something about the sound was strange. It did not seem human. It sounded rhythmic, almost methodical. I got up slowly and approached the door without opening it. I placed my ear against it. The footsteps stopped. Silence returned brutally. I had the sensation that whoever was outside knew exactly that I was there, awake, noticing every detail. My heart began to beat hard, heavy, as if trying to warn my body to run, but there was nowhere to go. A few seconds later, the footsteps came back, but not from the hallway anymore. Now they came from the garden, just below the window. I moved to the curtain, pulled a small space between the fabric, and looked outside. What I saw took the air from my lungs. One of the employees was standing in the middle of the lawn, under the pale moonlight. He stared directly at the bedroom window as if he knew I was there. His face had no expression, but his eyes, they were distant, empty, as if they did not belong to him. He did not move. He did not blink. It was like a body trapped inside itself, unable to act on its own. Suddenly, he began running toward the house. Not a normal run, but a frantic, uncontrolled run, as if every muscle was being forced by a force that wasn't his. I stumbled backward, falling to the floor, with the sound of footsteps growing louder, violent, desperate. Then, just before reaching the wall of the house, he stopped. He froze abruptly, as if someone had invisibly pulled his soul back. He stayed still for a few seconds, then calmly walked away, as if nothing had happened. It was in that instant that I understood. In that house, nobody acted of their own free will. Someone, or something, controlled every movement. The next morning, I tried to pretend everything was normal, but the image of that insane run was still trapped in my mind. I didn't have the courage to tell Helena. I feared she would think everything was a delusion, or worse, that she was aware of every detail. During breakfast, I observed the employees, those empty eyes, the slow movements, almost robotic, the constant and uncomfortable smiles. Everything seemed wrong. It was as if they were present, but not alive. Helena's father started a strange conversation, asking about my health, habits, family history, and especially about my physical and mental resilience. The conversation made my skin crawl. He spoke about genetics with a repressed euphoria, as if I were a precious piece in a collection he did not yet possess. When I questioned his interest, Jesus smiled, with a cold glow in his eyes, like someone who already knew far more about me than he should. By late afternoon, I decided to walk around the property, trying to clear my mind. Near the lac, I found a small wooden house. The door was unlocked. Inside, I found something that turned my discomfort into terror. There were framed photographs, old, olive young, smiling, elegant black people. But they were not ordinary portraits. They were like trophies. Each face seemed to follow me as I walked, as if asking for help from inside the frame. Next to the photos, I found medical records, detailed files accompanied by dates, exams, psychological histories, and clinical notes. All were selected based on vitality, physical strength, creativity, skills, and even intellectual level. Everything was organized in a cold, scientific way, like cataloging people. The more I flipped through the documents, the tighter my heart felt. Those employees with empty eyes, they were there, young, happy, full of life. And later, years later, they appeared with dead expressions, almost like dolls. It was as if their minds had been ripped out, replaced, erased. That was when I heard the door creak behind me. Helena's mother stood in the doorway, holding a teacup, as if that intrusion were perfectly expected. She did not show surprise or anger. Sion recited with the calmest voice I had ever heard. Some people have the privilege of not aging before the body. Some consciousnesses live forever, but not in their own skins. She smiled, sweetly, like a proud grandmother, and I finally understood in that house death was not the end. It was a business. That night was the worst. I could no longer hide my fear. Helena pretended not to notice, but her eyes carried something unsettling, as if she knew I was too close to the truth. I tried insisting that we leave, inventing urgencies, commitments, excuses. She only answered with a serene smile. We'll all go tomorrow, I promise. Her voice was not nervous, not irritated. It was calculated, as if every word had the intention of keeping me there for a few more hours. I did not sleep. I stayed awake until I heard the footsteps in the hallway again. But this time, I didn't just listen. I escaped the bedroom, crawling to the lower floor. The silence was so oppressive that every breath felt like a scream. I reached the living room and noticed a light in the kitchen. The door was slightly open. Primera peeked. Helena S. mother was sitting in front of an employee, the same one who had run frenetically the night before. She murmured soft words, like a chant. Her eyes were fixed on the man's forehead. He did not blink. He did not speak. He was a living object, trapped within himself. When she snapped her fingers, he stood up smiling, gently, as if he had just woken up. The transformation was so frightening that my body froze. It was hypnosis, but not common hypnosis. It was deep, permanent, absolute, mental slavery. I ran back to the bedroom and found Helena awake, looking at me as if she already knew everything. You shouldn't have gone out alone, she said, with a cold calmness. I tried arguing, but she pulled me close with a firm gaze. Don't fight this. They are trying to prolong lives, preserve memories, save consciousnesses. It's science, not horror. My mind cracked. For her, that was normal, natural, a legacy. In the morning, I tried fleeing through the forest, carrying my backpack. At each step, I felt like I was being watched. And primera vez, an employee appeared among the trees, blocking my path. His empty eyes seemed to see through me. He spoke a sentence that was not his, in a distant voice. It's not worth running. It begins today. He extended his hand with an elegant gesture, but it wasn't an invitation. It was capture. I tried to retreat, but footsteps echoed behind me. The entire family was there. Helena, her parents, and even the employees. I was just another perfect body, carefully selected. Their consciousness did not need to die. Mine needed to be replaced. I was taken back to the house without physical violence. Nobody hit me, nobody tied me up, and that, somehow, made everything even more terrifying. They didn't need to hurt me. They just knew there was no escape. The gentleness was the clearest sign that my life no longer belonged to me. Wheat. Each step, the employees walked around me with peaceful expressions, as if they were merely polite hosts at an elegant reception. But behind that docility were imprisoned souls, suffocated, silently begging. In the main hall, they had removed the furniture. The floor shined with wax, as if the house were preparing for an important event. In the center, a sturdy chair, with discreet straps on the arms and legs. Helena held my hand with sweetness, as if trying to calm a patient about to take a routine exam. But her eyes did not tremble, did not doubt, did not hesitate. She fully believed in that ritual. Her father brought a tray with medical instruments. Syringes, scalpels, tweezers, transparent vials with yellowish liquids. He organized them with surgical precision. "Your mind will be preserved," he said, as if it were an honor. "Your body will remain alive, but not with you inside it. Someone else will take your place, someone who paid very well for it." My breathing shortened. I tried to stand up, but the employees held me gently. Nothing aggressive, just inevitable. I screamed for Helena, begged, asked if this was a joke, but she smiled with the same expression she always used when she told me she loved me. That destroyed what was left inside me. The hypnotherapist appeared with a cup of hot tea. The aroma was too sweet, almost narcotic. "This will help you relax," she whispered. I tried turning my face, but she snapped her fingers. My body obeyed without permission. The cup reached my lips. My muscles swallowed without my command. A vertigo took over my mind. The hall began to spin, distorted, as if I were falling into a deep pit. Helena's mother's voice transformed into a hypnotic beacon, guiding me into darkness. My thoughts began to disappear, first as echoes, then as dissolved memories. I fought to remember my name, my story, my face. But everything began to collapse. I wasn't dying. I was being erased. When I finally opened my eyes, I didn't know how much time had passed. Maybe minutes, maybe hours, maybe days. Sunlight entered through the window, but I didn't feel any warmth. It was like observing the world from behind a thick glass, distant, untouchable. My body was lying on a strange bed, with white sheets and a perfectly silent ceiling. I tried lifting my hand, and I succeeded. At first, I thought I was free, but then I noticed something disturbing. The hand trembled, not like Mine, but as if it followed another intention, another way of existing. I tried speaking, but my voice sounded low, trembling, hesitant. It was my voice, but not my will. The room looked unfamiliar, as if it were an improvised hospital room. Soon the door opened, and a man entered, smiling, wearing elegant clothes. He held a golden cane, his eyes shining with vitality. Too much vitality. He observed me with admiration, as if contemplating a newly manufactured masterpiece. "Finally," he said, "my body was no longer useful to me. But yours. Yours is perfect." I froze. I tried to get up, but he raised the palm of his hand, and my spine locked. My body obeyed, not my thoughts. My body. That was when I realized I was trapped inside myself, suffocated, buried alive inside my own flesh. I could see, hear, think, feel, but could not control anything. I was just a consciousness floating inside a body that no longer responded to me. We were both there, me and him, like two voices trying to occupy the same mind, but only one permitted to act. His. The door opened again, and Helena entered. Serene, she looked at the new occupant in my body, and gently caressed my face. "Welcome to your new life," she said, as if celebrating a miracle. Then she turned to me, without speaking aloud. but with a look that said everything. You no longer matter. I screamed inside myself. I screamed with all the pain, all the fury, all the longing for my freedom. But nobody heard. Nobody would ever hear. My body stood up, thanked the family with impeccable politeness, walked firmly to the door. They applauded, and I felt every step, every breath, every smile that wasn't mine. I would continue alive, but I would never live again. If you liked the story, subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification bell to watch many more insane stories like this one. And if you'd like, leave a comment telling me what I can improve and what types of stories you enjoy.